What's up, superhero fans? Welcome back to another episode of Superhero Related, and in this video we got a lot to talk about. We got Marvel Spider-Man 2 DLC, Marvel's Wolverine potential 2025 release, the standalone Venom game, the PlayStation Showcase, and Comic-Con 2024. I am joined today here with some amazing friends of mine. I do have Alex from Podcast Now, and I also do have Skadoosh, and I will be leaving a link down below in the description so you guys can go check out both of their content. They make amazing content as well. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump straight into the video.
Because of they're too busy working on Wolverine. So if they're working on Wolverine, they're not working on Venom, at least not yet.
Why do you think getting a Venom game is realistic? Because obviously, check this out. So we've been rumored about having a Carnage DLC, but then if we have a Venom game coming out, who's going to be the antagonist for Venom? Does that insinuate that there is no Carnage DLC and it's just Beetle? Because if we're gonna have Carnage as a DLC, then who's Venom gonna be fighting against? Because it's a Venom game, so he's gonna be somewhat kind of the hero,
right? So
we'll be playing in his perspective and why he's doing such things. So yeah.
Controversial thought is there is no DLC for Spider-Man 2, and and Carnage would just be into Venom. I think
that's wild.
Yeah, that I don't know if I want that. I just think that makes the most sense. I think, it's not the same as 2018 anymore with, how they did those 3 episodes. But at the same time, it's almost a year, and I just don't see them doing like I just said, right? I do believe them when I don't think we'd ever get Sunset Overdrive or whatever. But anytime they're asked, Wolverine, and it's not like they would say they're doing Spider-Man DLC. But I just think they're being honest. They're being honest without, they would never say it. But I think they are literally working on Wolverine. I don't think there's anybody working on Spider-Man. Think,
yeah, go on.
I was gonna say, I think the multiplayer game that was, and I watched your guys' video, which I thought was very well done on, and that's a game I want. That's
the game I want, to be honest.
Yeah, that one hurt that they took that away from us. But I think that was the pseudo Spider-Man DLC, because it kind of would have been, right? It was very much borrowing pretty much every asset you could imagine from the base game. So I think that was kind of the plan, was to do a spin-off game at the same time, and it would be I forget the game's name, but it would be that multiplayer game, and that would be the quote-unquote DLC, but it would be a live service thing. So that's what I think it was, and then they shut that down. So so my opinion is we just flat out don't get Spider-Man 2 DLC.
Okay, because I can see the comment section rolling now. Obviously people are going to be like, then what are the leaked files for? Because when the update came out from Spider-Man 2, there were files with Beetle, the Beetle boss fights,
and I didn't look. Yeah. I didn't look too deep into that, but I did see I only saw one post on it, okay? So take it with a grain of salt. I saw one post that talked about if you go deeper into those files, it was basically all empty. It was just the name.
Those empty files. That's what I was saying. I was saying it. I
so
literally
said it in my last video. Placeholder title. It was, very early. Maybe, at some point they probably pitched that, right? That's something they wanted to do. But I think, and again, I only saw one person say that. But there was nothing in those files. It was just the name of them that tipped people off. But there was, there was no substance to it. So that's something to keep in mind.
What's the take on a superhero related?
Man, if I'm being honest, I'm gonna go back to being the optimistic, like I said, Spider-Man. I'm gonna be the optimistic, say hypothetically speaking. I know people are thinking back, maybe like Alex said, Marvel Spider-Man 2018, DLC was already talked about before the game was even already out, right? So DLC was already done. So if I'm taking into consideration, we do get Marvel Spider-Man 2 DLC. Now, what I don't think is possible in the DLC is that we get 3 antagonists. I don't think they're going to put Spider-Verse Anomaly. They're not going to put Carnage and the Beetle in that one DLC. They're not going to do 3 main antagonists. That's something I feel like is going to be for their own storyline. Like Alex said, if the Carnage things happen, it might happen for a little bit, and then it's that's Venom's thing right there. We're not going to mess with that. If we're going to make a standalone Venom game, Venom needs his own main antagonist. So who better else to fight Venom other than Carnage himself? It's no point of having, right? Let's just say, taking into consideration, why would they have Beetle, Carnage, and then they have the Spider-Verse anomaly. That's just too much to cram in DLC. Now me and Skadoosh talk, right? Even in Marvel Spider-Man 2018, we know that Miles Morales was originally supposed to be DLC, but they expanded his story to give him his own standalone game for when the PlayStation 5 was to be released. Now, this is just like I said, I think we're going to get DLC. It might not be this year. It might be announced at Comic-Con, maybe. You know, it could be announced at the State of Play at the end of this year. But I think DLC is going to happen for this game, especially with Insomniac only needing to sell 7 million copies. And they actually exceeded that with 11. And that's not even with the game being ported over to the PC yet.
We need an optimist. We need one.
Yeah, definitely need one. Trust me, the whole community is gonna go crazy for this, because if you do remember from the tweet that Insomniac did, I think one of the fans did ask them, when are we getting Sunset Overdrive, right? They could have said, you know, we're working on Spider-Man 2 DLC. They could have said anything else, but they weren't saying we're all hands on deck on Wolverine. Like, they're trying to send a signal out, like, in case you're waiting for Spider-Man 2 DLC and etc., we are working on Wolverine instead. You know, it's all about money and how much they could make from the game, because I don't see them putting an extra 100 or 200 million towards making a DLC for a game that obviously they have to pay the rights fee to Disney, which is probably about 20%. And you might think 20% is small money. That's a lot of money there. Do you know what I mean? So, and Spider-Man 2 is probably sold about 11 million copies now. That's about, I'm estimating, in the hundreds of millions to $1 billion. And so the profit is probably around the 300 million profit, because the game did cost about 200 million to make, extra 100 million for marketing. So we're looking towards the 300 plus the 400 million for a game. And games are expensive nowadays. And I don't know. So it's just one of those things. I think the fan base are looking back to what happened in 2018, and they're using that as an example, or as a blueprint toward, you know, to see what could happen in Marvel Spider-Man 2. I will be honest with you, I want to see the DLC, but I'm trying to be realistic, right? So we've had the hackers, you know, they've done what they've done. They've leaked a bunch of, you know, files and, you know, games that we could be seeing in the future. But we've not seen any hints towards Spider-Man 2 DLC. Like, you would think that's probably one of the first things they would get, but they got their hands on Wolverine. They got their hands on, you know, the Spider-Verse canceled game. They even got their hands on, like, you know, the back end build of Marvel Spider-Man 3. It's not an actual game. It's a back end build of the game. They've got the games, you know, the footage, I would say, or maybe, like, you know, the code, the source code, and they've leaked that. And people who had access to it, who can, you know, obviously, you know, change the source code, make it look, you know, towards to, like, you know, modern game or so. They've been able to mod the game, and you can actually watch the footage of it on YouTube right now. It's a back end version of Marvel Spider-Man 3. So they've got Marvel Spider-Man 3, the Spider-Verse, Wolverine, and no Spider-Man 2 DLC.
I think Icky Island is the new one, I think, to measure games on now for, like, PlayStation ecosystem and stuff. And that's why I think time is running out. You know, it's ran out, it's whatever, because, you know, you look at Icky Island, it came out a year and a month after. Yeah, you know,
God of War as well. God of War 2. That took like a year for the DLC to come out.
Yeah, and even Valhalla, and that was a free thing. And that one, I guess, maybe would make the point, right? For, like, that one, I guess, would lean more towards, okay, it's possible something could happen for Spider-Man 2. I think the Icky Island one is more of a negative, where if you look at that, and to be fair, Icky Island is an actual expansion. You know, Valhalla is a complete side thing that they just got to have fun with. And Spider-Man 2 DLC would be more like Icky Island than it would Valhalla. And that's just why I don't. And like you said, the tweet, the all hands on deck, that quote, that's what I think they're telling the truth on, right? Because actually, I mean, and even in a sense, they're also lying, because we know there's like 5 of them that are working on Ratchet and Clank in 20 years from now, right? Like, we know that. So technically that's not true, but it's mainly true. And that's the part I, like, latch on to, where I think they're about as genuine as they can be with that part, where literally everybody's busy. And they're not busy to not make Sunset Overdrive. They're busy to not make Spider-Man 2 DLC, you know?
Yeah. Do you have anything to say?
I think if they were going to not make it, they would just say it. You know, like, even at the showcases that they had in a while back, when people asked them, like, hey, is Eddie Brock going to be Venom? They straight out said no. You know what I mean? So I think if they were not making the DLC, they would just say like, hey, it's canceled. I think they got a lot riding on this DLC. Like if it does come, right? I don't think, like I just said, I don't think it's going to be 3 people. It might just be Beetle DLC that might last maybe, 4 or 5 hours. You get a couple side missions, maybe bring back Screwball, something like that. And that's just me, Alex, and Skadoosh. That's just what I believe. If they weren't coming out with DLC, it's just best to say no. Like when they were asked, it's Venom. It's Venom's going to be in the game. They hinted towards not Venom being playable, but it's kind of like some of those remarks. So it's like, well, if you know, right, kind of thing. But when they asked, is Eddie Brock going to be Venom? They flat out said no. He's not going to be Venom. So if they're asking about DLC and they say, is DLC coming? They're not saying no. They're just not saying anything. They're not being responsive. And that's one of the things I talked to Skadoosh about, right? If you're in a business like Insomniac Games, if DLC is not going to come, you could say no, right? You could say yes, but sometimes in business, it's just kind of best to keep your mouth closed. You know what I mean, Alex? So that's just one of the things that I feel like I think it's coming. It won't be as big as the first one with the 3. It could be 3 segments, but I think like in the 3 segments of Marvel Spider-Man 2 DLC, it was Hammerhead was the main antagonist out of all 3 segments. That's the thing. It wasn't like it was Hammerhead and then they brought in, Rhino escaped from the raft again and we brought him back. The main antagonist was Hammerhead out of all 3 segments. And you got Black Cat in there, you had Spider-Man, you had the dialogue between Miles Morales after he got his powers and Peter's going to train him to swing and stuff like that. So that's just me. If DLC is not coming, I don't see the reason why Insomniac Games would not just say no, like they did with if Eddie Brock going to be Venom. Just say no. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think they're just letting the fans try to decide. That way, if it doesn't come, they're not in the wrong for saying, oh, DLC is coming and then it doesn't come. Or they're not saying that, oh, we're going to get DLC and then they surprise everybody. You know what I mean? So I think it's tricky. It's the last minute kind of thing. They're going to surprise everybody. So many videos are up now. DLC's not happening. It's kind of like with DLC not happening. It's kind of like a 60-40. 40%. I'm included in that 40% that believe that DLC.
Like, well, hold on. 40% that it's not happening, or 40% that's happening.
40 believe that it is. 60 believe that it's not.
That is not okay.
I think that's.
I'm a part of that 40.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I think it's a 64. I think it's more people that say it's not than it is, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what we say.
Well, there's one thing I actually want to highlight. It's something I've seen people talk about. So they brought to my attention. I did kind of know about this, but someone in the comment section said, you do know Insomniac has 2 teams. Like they have a team separate working on Wolverine, and they have another team working on Spider-Man. How do you think this plays in? Because that's definitely the case. That's how it's been. Because when they were working on Spider-Man 2, there was a different team working on Wolverine. Yeah. But do you think it's still that way, or have they just come together now to just have all hands on deck for Wolverine?
Yeah, I think it's more. And I always try to make it less complicated to say things like that. But I think as time has gone on, what you kind of see, and this is not even just like me speculating, you look on Twitter, when somebody ended, you saw, right? People that finished work on Spider-Man, next day they're working on Wolverine. So I think generally in these studios, there is a split and there's, 2-3 different teams, whatever, but people get borrowed and taken over, right? If they need them. So I think Wolverine for a while had less people than Spider-Man. Like it wasn't like the team was split in half or anything. I think Wolverine had a group, and then they started to borrow more and more and more people, right? When Spider-Man ends, they come over and they work on. I don't love that idea, by the way. I think you literally should just create 2 entirely different teams inside Insomniac. I think that'd be better, but I don't think that's how it is. And what makes the point is because there's like 4 artists working on Ratchet and Clank right now. So that's not
only 4.
Well, that leak was like, there was a number. It's like under 5 or something.
Just 4 people. Wow.
Yeah, there's a couple people inside Insomniac that are doing basically like prototype like designs for Ratchet. So like that, and that happens all the time. There's people that they get months sometimes to just experiment and do, not just Insomniac, any studio, right? Sometimes if there's dead time between projects, people can just create new systems or create sketches, or, whatever they want. Like Last of Us 2 did that with Ellie, even by that tree. That was the sketch, right? So that's what I think is. So yeah, I don't think it's as simple as, because it is true. I think there's a team that's working on Wolverine. There's a team that's working on Venom. The Venom team is probably smaller. there's a small team working on I don't want to, a certain game in 2030 that's like a group of superheroes, let's say. There's a Ratchet and Clank team, like it's messier than just that. So that's what I think it's like in there.
Ratchet and Clank is a very underrated game. I'm gonna be honest with you. Rift Apart was really good. Ready. Rift Apart was really good. I would like to see more Ratchet and Clank, to be honest.
It was.
So what games are you guys excited for though from all the list? I personally, I would like to see a Venom game. I would like to see the DLC though first. But if that's not coming, I'm really fine with it. Like, to be honest, I'm being so realistic right now. So I would like to see a Venom game. I would like to see Wolverine, coming on the PlayStation. I think is it a showcase or state of play coming on this fall?
Hopefully a showcase.
Hopefully it is a showcase.
Yes.
Not just
I swear to God if it's not.
Well, if they're gonna do this, right, I would actually be excited to see, Wolverine making it to the big screen, because if that shows up, then that kind of insinuates we're gonna probably get a game 2025, fall 2025.
Yeah.
2026. Yeah. If they're gonna stretch it. Do you know what I mean?
If me personally, I think with everything that happened with Wolverine, the PC ports, the concept art that's out there, costumes, you can actually see this dude literally like wall running and climbing, jumping, and sprinting, all of that, those things. I think 2026, early 2026. So maybe the DLC doesn't come 2024. They got DLC coming out 2025 to kind of like hold the fans over, on top of games like Rise of Hydra. That's I'm actually super excited for that. We have the closed beta for Marvel Rivals, which that game's supposed to be coming out 2025 as well. So I think 2025 for gamers who in the superhero genre, like I know Alex, your channel literally talks about everything, which I love. Literally. You and Degenerate J, man, you guys are amazing. If I'm being honest, I think that 2025 is a super stacked year for superhero games, and DLC we could get for that. I'm most excited, me personally. We got EA's Iron Man game coming out. That's probably my second best. If I gotta choose number one, I'm gonna have to go Rise of Hydra. Marvel's Rise of Hydra. I'm excited for that. So because you from what it's looking like now, trailer wise, and hopefully, like Alex said, it is a showcase, so we can see more and more games instead of a state of play, right? If we get to see, we could potentially see gameplay for that. And what it's looking like, you get 4 playable characters. You get Black Panther, Captain America. You get one of the soldiers with Captain America that's in the Civil War with and during that time frame, right? And then you get a Wakandian spy that's actually out in Paris. So I think that's gonna, if they do that right, and obviously no live service. Just I pray to God it's not live. I think it's not. I don't think I heard anything of live service in that at all. But if it's not live service, then it's potentially could be a good game on top of EA's Iron Man next for me. If Wolverine comes out 2025, that's fine. That'll be good for everybody, because it'll be like, well, Insomniac basically beat the hackers, even though they leaked everything, right? So that's just me. That's my very first game. I got Rise of Hydra, then I'm going EA's Iron Man after that. Marvel's Rival, it's good, but I'm not real big on the live service games. Part of the not big on the superhero multiplayer live service games. If you're gonna have microtransactions in it, make it like Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Origins Online was great, Alex. It's good. It was Origins Online was actually done phenomenally. But if you're gonna do something like that, you got to keep live service to a minimum, maybe a multiplayer thing, But other than that, no Suicide Squad, microtransactions, battle passes. No, that's just
it's a discussion for a different day. But the early 2010s and late 2000s, when they just felt inclined to put multiplayer in every game known to man, was actually good looking back. Like Assassin's Creed, Dead Space,
Assassin's Creed multiplayer.
Yes, Assassin's Creed. What, Brotherhood?
Brotherhood.
Brotherhood. Dead Space. I love Dead Space, where you play as both sides. That was like low key, like a really good era that I wish we could get back to instead of live service.
I don't know about that, but to be honest, I think I'm ready to bet on this, that Wolverine is quite close than people think. The reason why I'm saying so is because obviously we have the narrative director. She just left the studio, and obviously they do work on contracts, right? So if she's left the studio, it means she has fulfilled what her contract says. Like when you get hired for a job, you get hired for a certain amount of time, and when it comes to video game development, the first thing that gets laid is the storyline. Okay, so from the story, then they can build up for the character, how the character is going to be played, and all that kind of stuff. So the story is the first thing they actually get sorted out. So if she's leaving, it does insinuate that, you know, parts of the story has already been done, and so the game is probably further than we actually think. It's something happened to GTA 6 when the game got leaked. The hackers took like an early footage of the game. It's not really what, you know, Rockstar had fulfilled at the moment. So they took like an early build of the game and they leaked that. So it's probably the same thing with Wolverine, where we're looking at maybe like a year-old build of the game. So they probably are way into the game right now. Like they've rendered the whole environment, you know, the whole character and everything should probably be. I would say there's a playable version of it right now without, you know, all the bugs and all the stuff you see in the leaked versions. There's a playable version of it probably going through QA testing right now, and who knows, you know, fingers crossed. During the showcase, we might get more information.
You got to think about one other potentially controversial thing is that Sony clearly likes to rush things, at least at times. I believe 1,000%. They rushed Spider-Man 2. So where I'm going with it is, I think PlayStation wants Wolverine next fall. Does Insomniac want it next fall? No, they probably want it, like you said.
So that's what I've been saying. Yes,
Insomniac probably wants it 2026, first half of 26.
Yes,
exactly.
Because Sony's looking at their pockets, bro. They're looking at how much they want.
Yeah, they see the fall. Yeah.
They rather invest in a new
and all
game.
that. And next fall, they only have Death Stranding 2 in the fall, and it is a big game, but you know, don't let that trick you. Like Death Stranding 1 did well for 1 month, and then it kind of died after that. So
Death Stranding is not a good game. Sorry for anyone who's
I disagree. But
I don't know. It's basically a walking simulator, bro. Like
but I mean, but you look at it,
delivering stuff.
But you look at it, and it's sold. I think. Don't quote me on this, but I think Death Stranding got like 5 or 6 million in all, and it got I think 4 million in the first month. So it died. So I mean, Death Stranding 2 coming out next fall, it'll be big for a month and then die. Sony is looking around, I imagine, and saying, if you're even remotely close for Wolverine, we need that out next fall. And that's why I think, against their better wishes, I think you actually could very well see Wolverine next November, you know?
Yeah, I'm really off for that one. I'm really off for that one. Hideo Kojima, he's a great guy. I'm just gonna take back what I said. He's a great guy. I like his, you know, the way he puts his games all together. He's really, really very, very talented, but he wasn't cooking on that one. I prefer, you know, Metal Gear Solid. You know, those were the times when Hideo was literally like the beast in the gaming industry. But anyways, yeah, really nice having you today, Alex. I've been watching your videos. You know, I got to know your channel from Superior Related, so he's been watching you and for a very long time. So
you guys are
pleasure having you today.
I was like, let me reach out to Alex. He seems like a good guy that he want to get on here with us and talk some crap. So
this was fun.
Yeah,
this was fun, man. I appreciate it.
We hopefully should have a lot of, you know, the next couple of years. There's, like you said, Marvel, Rise of Hydra, Iron Man eventually in 20 years when that comes out. Like these are
20 years.
Yeah.
You know, but Iron Man I think can be a legitimately, you know, amazing.
I think an Iron Man game would be really good. There's a lot you can do with it. You know, with the parts, you can you know, customization, and different materials or whatever. You know. The
way I think they should go about the open world thing, I don't think it should be strictly like Marvel's Avengers. It was like, it wasn't really open world, it's more like a platform kind of game. It gave you an option to like move around essentially, but it wasn't. When I think of open world, obviously, you know, you want to think about, you know, Arkham Knight, Marvel Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man 2, games like that. But I don't think EA is going to be that. I think EA is going to be more open world, kind of like a Jedi Survivor was, guys.
No. Hold on. If they're going to make an Iron Man game, it has to be open world. When it comes to Black Panther, I can see it being like a God of War type of semi-linear type of game. Do you know what I mean? But if they're going to make an Iron Man game, it has to be open world, because this guy's got literally, you know,
I think something like Anthem. I think something like Anthem.
Something like, that's it. Like,
but it will be contained. I feel like it'll be contained because you look at their track record, and although they're masters of like just switching, right? Star Wars Squadrons, Dead Space, But you look at both of them, and Squadrons
sure.
is contained, and Dead Space, no loading screens, so you can go through the whole Ishimura, right? But it's kind of open, you know, like in a way, right? It kind of is open, but it's also not. So Iron Man, I feel like, will be one step more open than the ship in Dead Space, but you're not going to get Witcher 3 or Horizon. Like, I don't think it'll be that.
Oh, that's a bum.
Yeah. That's just my belief. I just don't feel that makes sense, like you said, for Iron, because you want
sense. You know, Iron Man, Spider-Man flying around, swinging around.
But you think about where they've come from. I truly don't think you can go from Dead Space to Witcher 3. Like, I just don't see how that happens.
Yeah, but like you said, they've done Anthem. Anthem's kind of
I mentioned Anthem as Anthem was BioWare. Anthem was BioWare.
That's true. It's BioWare.
I mentioned Anthem because that's
BioWare is
somewhat secluded, but it's also kind of open. Like, Anthem is not, I would call, open world, but it lets you fly, and they also nailed the flying.
Is BioWare not on the EA?
They what?
Is BioWare not?
BioWare is with EA. That's true.
That's what I'm saying. So basically, they have it. They have the blueprint. Like, just take Anthem and give us Iron Man.
Yeah, but that's true. BioWare can give notes.
That's it.
They can give notes to them and see what motive can. I just don't, you look at Hogwarts Legacy, like, you got to think about where the studio came from. They can pivot fast, but they normally don't go. You look at Hogwarts Legacy, actually, that's open world, but is it really? Like, it's kind of big, but it's not. But also look at where they came from. So you just got to
exactly.
I keep that in mind, where it's like they'll go bigger than Dead Space, but they can only go so far unless they fire everybody and hire just like open world experts.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's going to be like an entire New York you get to fly around as Iron Man. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I think it's going to be that's what I'm saying. Jedi Survivor, like you said, Hogwarts Legacy, it's open world, but like you said, again, it's not. You know what I mean? So it's around that spectrum of open world. It's not going to be you can swing from this part of Manhattan to somewhere else. It's not gonna be anything like that at all. I think it's gonna be open world, not as platform based as the Marvel's Avengers game was. And it's just gonna be just like that. So I don't. That's just me, man. I don't think so. I don't think it's gonna be real hard for them to pull that off, especially with Iron Man and stuff like that. The flight system is really what's gonna make or break the game. The combat, it's not really too big of a deal, because that's not nothing that you can really like stress over as implementing over from different games. Even like if you take some of the movement from Marvel's Avengers, right? That's not really that big of a deal. What's going to make or break the game is the flight system, the flight patterns, how fast, the speed and velocity of you can go. Could you get upgrades to like the Mark V suits? You know what I mean? Like, those are things like that I feel like are going to make the differential when it comes to EA's Iron Man game is the flight.
I think it could be one of the better Marvel games. Like, when all's said and done, 5 years looking back, I think Iron Man could be like a top 2 or top 3. Though.
Don't really have my trust in EA, but
I don't have it in EA, but I do have it in Motive. Like, the actual, just like, and you look like, Amy Hennig has my full trust because of Uncharted, but it's also we haven't seen that game. You see them acting. We haven't seen gameplay, so that so that doesn't have to go well. The EA Black Panther game kind of scares me. Spider-Man 3, like Spider-Man 2, I think was a drop in some ways versus 1, so there's no guarantee for that. Venom might not, it might be an 8 to 10 hour thing. I think at the end of not to say that's bad, by the way, but I think when all's said and done, Iron Man, they all have risks. They all could be good or bad, but I think Iron Man absolutely could be one of the better ones.
I do want to thank you guys for coming out to the podcast. I do really enjoy the time that we did spend. We had a lot to talk about. For the guys that did make it to the end of the video, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Everything that we discussed. I want you guys to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy any of the content. I do enjoy having Alex and Skadoosh on the podcast. We do plan on doing more of these things later on in a future day, and even doing some potential live streams. So if you guys did enjoy the video, leave a like button, leave a comment, let me know what you guys think. And if you guys aren't already subscribed, please subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the next episode of Superhero Related.